So good afternoon and welcome to the third webinar of our three-part series to help you through our investment process. I'm Mitch Baker. I'm the Community Impact Manager over at United Way. I'm going to be guiding you through this webinar. So Katrina already went through the history and background and the process itself, and then a little bit into EC Impact for the first two webinars. And all of those webinars will be available tomorrow in the procedure and key dates file, and also in the Resource Center in EC Impact. If you are thinking of applying in another issue area or utilizing our cross-issue area grant, I would certainly recommend also watching those webinars. But if you find that you have any questions after finishing this and reviewing the documents we have posted on our website and on EC Impact, feel free to send me or Katrina an email or call us at 726-7000. We are going to go over how United Way refers to its priorities and strategies. Then we'll go into a deep dive about what we mean when we say financial stability. Then, as promised by the webinar's title, we'll walk through the application and the narrative response checklist. So if you're familiar with United Way of Central Illinois, you've probably heard us talk about our four issue areas. So basic needs, education, financial stability, and health. Each one of these issue areas has a vision statement that outlines the broad ideas that we have for our community. From there, we get more specific with some priorities, and then we can talk about the strategies that we use to achieve those priorities. Now, as you complete your application, it'll be your job to draw a thread from the strategies your program is using all the way up to the priorities your program addresses and how that all connects to the issue area vision statement, which for financial stability is providing individuals and families the education, skills, and supports needed to lead financially stable lives. This issue area receives 13 to 17% of the community fund, but with the introduction of our new cross-issue area grant opportunity, it doesn't look exactly like this. So the cross-issue area opportunity doesn't have an exact funding range, and if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend listening into the other webinar about the cross-issue area grant specifically. So just to give you an example of how this process works. So if, for example, we have $1 million to award and we have $200,000 in amazing cross-issue area applications, that $200,000 in cross-issue area funding would be taken off the top. Then $800,000 would be divided among the issue areas. So financial stability would receive 13 to 17% of that $800,000. Our volunteers will not slice and dice based on what issues those cross-issue area programs address. It'll be all about creating the best investment portfolio to create the greatest return on investment for our community. Again, there's no minimum or maximum for cross-issue area funding, so our volunteers will be trying to find that balance between issue areas and creating the best outlook for our community. Back to financial stability, the target population is going to depend on the priority or priorities that your program is addressing. So the first priority under financial stability is making sure that children are equipped with the skills needed to make financially smart decisions throughout their life. This covers grades K through 12, but the portion that we'll be allocating funding for would be for high schoolers engaging in youth employment. And just a clarification, we have 15 to 20% listed as the portion of focus, but really these are just ideal percentages and serve as more guideposts than hard and fast rules for our vision councils. So if we don't receive any quality applications to address one of these priorities, we would absolutely not keep that money locked away. Our next priority is making sure adults are equipped to support themselves and or their families in a financially stable environment. That focuses on adults 18 or over and ideally receives the majority of financial stability funding. Lastly, we also want to ensure seniors are supported to lead independent lives, and we'll focus about 20 to 35% of our financial stability funding there. So these are just some clarifications that we want to make. So client or program participant wages cannot be funded by us. Obviously, we're happy to fund a caseworker, for example, but not wages for someone who is enrolled in the program. And then these others are more just definitions that the Vision Council wanted us to clarify. A successful referral is always external, so you need to follow up and make sure that that connection was actually made. If you simply suggest another program to a client, that might be a referral, but it doesn't necessarily meet the criteria for what we're calling successful referrals. Next up, coaching. This is for a staff or volunteer when they are directly interacting with a client, and that interaction is directly geared towards increasing a client's skills, for example, on like budgeting or conflict resolution. And it's really important that that is different than case management here. So case management would be the time that staff, and that's typically a social worker, spends going over specific plans and goals and coordinating services for a client. Mentoring, on the other hand, is the time that a trained volunteer spends with a client one-on-one. So this is not time spent with staff. This is with a volunteer mentor. So now we're going to go into the priorities and strategies for financial stability. Our priority one is that children are equipped with the skills needed to make financially smart decisions throughout their life. To achieve this, we want programs that combine financial literacy training and money management training with employment. And you need to have both of those aspects, both financial literacy and employment, in order to be eligible. Our second priority is that adults are equipped to support themselves and or their families in a financially stable environment. In this priority, programs will use these listed methods, so case management, coaching, mentoring, or other methods to help with their housing, employment, or their money management skills. And then our last priority 3, is all about making sure seniors are supported to lead independent lives. That's through safe and affordable housing or money management. Go ahead and pull up our website. So here it is, and you can just start by going to springfieldunitedway.org. And then if you're patient, you can wait for the banner, but if you're impatient like me, you can head over to News, and then scroll down to Request for Applications Now Live. You'll click Read More there. And then if you scroll down for more information, please click here. And here is the spot where you're going to find all of the important documents, some really important documents that will help you through the application process. So the first thing is so I would go straight to the request for applications. If you have not read this, start right here. The RFA sort of gives narrative context for why we measure what we measure, our vision for the community, and how we plan to achieve that vision. So big picture wise, this is the document for you. So let's start by looking at the sample application. So technically, yes, this is a sample app, but there is no reason not to work on your responses right now because the vast majority of this application will stay exactly the same. And if you would like a Word doc version of this file, please feel free to just shoot myself or Katrina an email. We'll be happy to send that your way. Next up, we have the sample application narrative response checklist. So this is a critical document to keep with you right next to you while you're filling out your application. So you're probably familiar, every question when you're applying for funding is a loaded question. So we provided this document for you to sort of demystify the process and give you the subtext for each question instead of asking you to read our minds. So when we ask you to describe your program, for example, this is really what we want you to say. And so if you go down this checklist as you fill out your application and making sure that you are addressing every single check that is listed here, you should be good to go. So scrolling down to this issue area specific information, these questions right here are going to help you connect your program all the way from its strategies and priorities all the way up to the overall vision of that issue area. And then as you scroll down, you'll find this information. So this will be really helpful in trying to figure out, if your program is, according to our definition, a pilot program or a new program, an existing program, things like that. And then also we have a really specific definition of collaboration. So be sure that you are reading this definition and addressing that question with the answers that are applicable. Let's see. So next, we've got a document called Budget Definitions. And this is really just to make sure that your definitions for your budget match ours so that we know what we're looking at when we're reading your application. One thing to note, we may be adding a line item for in-kind contributions just because of some feedback that we've received. But our volunteers have yet to wrestle with that, so we'll see how the final application looks. The vast majority of it will look just like this. The next document we're going to look at is the demographic step-by-step completion guide. So this makes it crystal clear how to fill out this form. It should be pretty easy if you use this guide. Next, we've got our scoring rubric. This is really, really helpful. This is the actual rubric that the Vision Councils use when scoring your form. So it's on a scale from 0 to 10, and 5 on our scale is effective. So if your program receives a 50%, that means that your program is effective, which is not a bad thing. So if you want to stay more competitive, you would try for these higher numbers, and a 10 would be a national model. So that is very difficult to achieve a 10, but not impossible. One thing to note, so our scale goes up to 10 because 10 would be a national model. For some things like a budget, for example, you are not going to have a national model for your budget. A budget is a budget. A great budget is one that balances and works and is completely filled out. So that's a 5. And there are several categories like that where, for example, filling out your client demographic form. We just want you to be filling out that form and making sure it's all there and correct. One little tip that we have for you, have someone who is not connected to your program read through your application and score it with this rubric. We all tend to fill in the blanks when we know our programs really well, but I mean, while our Vision Councils are experts, they are not experts in your program. So it's really helpful to have someone else look at this and just do a little practice score. A couple of other things we have for you. So we will have grant labs every Thursday from 4 to 5 starting this week all the way through the end of the year, with the exception of Thanksgiving, of course. And those are really opportunities. They're open office hours where you can come in, you have a quiet place to work, and you can ask us questions about the process. So we won't tell you what to write, but we can ask clarifying questions that might help you create your best application. Another thing to note, so this application has, once it's uploaded onto the site, it'll have 90,000 available characters. That is a lot, and we do not expect you to come even close to this full amount. If you need help paring that down, I would definitely recommend coming to one of our grant labs. And if for some reason a question does not apply to you or your program, just be sure to add NA, not applicable, or an explanation of why that question doesn't apply to your program, just so the volunteers know that you didn't just skip the question. Another thing, please don't copy and paste. Be sure to reframe your answers to the actual question that's being asked. And I would definitely recommend to not say refer to another section of your application. Our volunteers are reading through piles and piles of applications, and if you are counting on them to go back to something 10 pages ago, I wouldn't necessarily count on them doing that. You need to have all the information you want them to see right there in front of them. But that's all that I have for today. So hope you have a great day, and feel free to call our office if you have any questions.